my God. Oh my God. Have you all seen the news that happened also this weekend? We have Martin Shkreli ended up getting sentenced for 7 years. People are like, yeah, Martin Shkreli, he's been sentenced. He's a big old evil pharma guy and everything like that. But we got to talk about this from a reserve list standpoint. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We got to talk about this because of what the judge did. So he has to pay over $7 million back. And the judge ordered, along with the prison sentence, that his substitute assets, we're talking like the Wu-Tang Clan album, Pablo Picasso, his some of the stock market account stuff, and it could go as far as his magic cards. Okay, remember Martin Shkreli got in as a investor and collector looking for a place to put money a couple of years ago. There was a big old Reddit post on it and everything, and everything blew up because here we got the Martin Shkreli going, I'm interested in buying some Moxes and some Black Lotuses because they're worth something. And I haven't even had a chance to talk about the reserve list and its historical context of why it was there and everything else with it. But there's always been a fight from a legal standpoint about, can Wizards get rid of the reserve list because the cards really aren't worth anything? They have the rights to reprint them and blah, 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 blah. But the reserve list was a promise saying that they wouldn't reprint them. And is there promissory estoppel and everything else in there? And one of the biggest arguments, though, with all this is like, the cards have no value. But a judge for Martin Shkreli just said that substitute assets are to be sold off to pay his expenses, which means that magic cards have value on the secondary market. So this makes everything a lot more complicated. For anybody going, let's get rid of the reserve list. We got to get rid of it. Oh my God, it's so unfair that we can't play with these old cards and everything. And Wizards just needs to get rid of them because the big old evil collectors can just tank it. That is going to make things a lot harder to do now. Look, now, besides just talking about like the quality or something, we're going to go back to the Duelist number 10 here real quick. This is one of the places that the original reserve list was actually printed in. Okay, that's where they ended up first talking about it after all the snafus that happened with the original overprinting and the reprinting of Chronicles and everything else like that. But you know, when they had made their card reprint policy changes for the reserve list back in March 4th of 1996, very interesting there at that time. So, in this article, you know, why Magic cards are reprinted. Wizards of the Coast understands that Magic also appeals to many of you as a collectible. For this reason, it has always been our policy to print any card with a new card power in black border before it is reprinted in a white border. We have discovered, however, that in addition to the limited nature of our black-bordered products, much of the collectability of a Magic card is determined by its availability for gameplay purposes. Accordingly, we have decided to expand our previous policies by creating a new category of cards called reserved cards that will never be printed again in black or white border in-game functionally identical form. Okay, so that's just a quick synopsis of the thought process behind Wizards at the time for doing the reserve list was the collectability. And it's changed so much over time where, you know, now we're getting into arguments. We've seen lawyers go, yes, they can revoke it. And other lawyers going, no, they can't revoke it. And, you know, the players are saying we need to get these reprinted so we can get our Power 9 because they're too expensive, or Dual Lance because it's too expensive. It's killing Legacy and Vintage and everything else like this. But Wizards has still never reprinted these cards because there is the danger of promissory estoppel of these cards having a value in the secondary market, and because of this original reserve list put into place. And it gets more complicated now from a law aspect because of Martin Shkreli. Okay? Since the lawyer has ordered secondary assets be sold off to cover his $7 billion that he or $1 million that he owes. So, Martin Shkreli has either just saved the reserve list, or we hope that, this gets appealed so that this gets thrown out. So, it's one of the things now, if you think that Martin Shkreli should be going to jail and should have to pay this back, it's going to have repercussions from a legal standpoint, more so than anything about the promissory estoppel or, anything else like that we've heard. We're got judges saying that secondary assets now have value that could be used later on. So just something to keep in mind, since Martin Shkreli was buying cards a couple of years ago. Keep an eye on this. Let us know what you think. Are we completely off base here, or is there potentially some validity to cards actually having a secondary value, or should the reserve list just be gotten rid of? This is Harrison with Jenny Fedora Productions, and we will talk to you later. So, because of that, you get the risers and you get the shells. The shells are usually about $6 each, but they are such an efficient way to hold these big boxes. It even holds them with the lids on, okay?